All right, y'all. We are back with yet again another episode of Daring to Suck. This is season 2, episode 2 of the podcast. And if you didn't catch the first one, it's been like 3 years since I have gone back into doing the podcast, and it feels really good to just be back and talking, having these deep conversations with people that I've gotten to meet and been very fortunate to work with. And it seems like the second season, the theme has become the road to Nashville because I've gotten the great fortune to work with these Nashville-based songwriters and veteran musicians, like Adam Browder, today's guest. And so I want to just be able to dig into his brain today and just see what his life has been like as a full-time musician. So you very
It won't take you very long to dig there. Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. So that kind of starts off my first question for you, Adam. By the way, thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me. Hey, everyone.
So yeah, what is your personal story of like what's your road to Nashville? What did that look like for you?
It's thankfully we have a podcast to do this because it's kind of a long story. But I'm from Birmingham, Alabama originally,
Right.
and in '97 I just graduated high school, and I was just obsessed with playing guitar. And I was looking at going to Belmont, MTSU, some other schools and stuff, and they're
Yeah.
all being out of state. The tuition was just exorbitant. I couldn't. There's no way my family could afford it.
Yeah.
We looked at this small school in Northwest Alabama called University of North Alabama. And it was a little area called the Quad Cities, which is like Florence, Muscle Shoals,
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa, and Sheffield. And just had a great little vibe, had an awesome music program there.
Cool.
And so I moved into town, started going to school, and right away I learned about the history of the town, about, Fame Studios, Muscle Soul Sound Studios, and everyone that's recorded there. And I was just mesmerized by it, and loved the history of it, and started right away, basically kind of playing in the studios in '97 as an 18-year-old kid.
Wow.
And not an opportunity everyone gets,
Yeah.
especially coming from Nashville,
Yes.
and so I started working in the studios. I was over at Fame, and I was this thing called that Rodney Hall put together called the Tuesday Music Club. And so on Tuesdays, all these young guys would get together and we'd write songs together, and then we'd record them together.
Hmm.
And that part of that group, like that we get together on Tuesdays, was Gary Nichols from the Steel Drivers, and
Such a fan.
Jason Isbell,
Oh my gosh.
and some of the guys from his band were actually in the Tuesday Music Club as well, and John Paul White from the Civil
Right.
Wars.
Okay.
So we were just all young, green, writing songs. Getting into, after we get done writing, we go into room B, and we'd start cutting.
That's
And
incredible.
none of us really knew what we were doing, but we were learning, and it was an awesome experience.
What a cool like boot camp style way to do it too.
It
It's like you
was, it
write a
was
song and then you immediately record.
yeah, it was a very cool way to do it. And so I did that for like a year, and then kept writing more and doing more studio work. And then I kind of shifted over to some of the guys stayed at Fame, like Gary, and then some of us went to, like me and John went over to Muscle Shoals Sound
Hmm.
back when they were at the Armory, and we started working there. And
Yeah.
of course, at that time, John had got a pub deal, I think, with Walt Aldridge. And
Okay.
Walt's office was there, and Gary Baker's office was there, and I was just kind of there hanging around. I was the kid they couldn't get rid of. Like, I wasn't making any money, and
Yeah.
but I was like, I'll do anything and everything,
Yeah.
and I did. I got to do so many cool things.
Yeah.
Uh, Wolf, who is a producer at Malaco Records,
Cool.
he he was doing a lot of blues and soul records down there, and
Yeah.
he taught me how to tape edit, how to use a 2-inch reel to reel and how to tape edit. Walt taught me how to mix. Gary Baker taught me how to cut vocals. I got to work with Backstreet Boys there. I was
What?
cutting vocals for those guys. Yeah. So I was just getting all these cool opportunities. And it was just what a interesting little town, interesting way to come up.
There's something in the drinking water down there for sure.
Yeah, and it broke my heart to leave. Like, I did not want to leave that town. After Muscle Soul Sound, I went to Gary Baker split off and started this thing called Noise Block Studios in downtown Florence.
Okay, yeah.
So I started working there. I was doing a lot of songwriting, gotten into do a lot of sync cuts type stuff.
Cool.
And then I started a band called the Shoals, and like 2005, and we got signed a publishing deal in Nashville and a production deal and developmental deal with Paul Worley and Wally Wilson.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I know those names.
Paul was a huge producer and still is. And Wally, great songwriter, great publisher and producer in his own right. And so they took us under their wing. We did that for a few years, and that's kind of how I got to Nashville. Was through
Wow.
that band, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that it just grew from your roots. Like you didn't have to just go straight to Nashville and, grind away like a lot of people do. I like that it just kind of came from your hometown kind of community that you had almost.
Yeah, and like being only 2 hours from Nashville, I was back and forth in Nashville all the time
Yeah,
because I come up to do co-writes and then I drive back and forth. You know all about that.
I do.
So, I was spending 4 hours a day in the car,
Oh,
just
yeah.
to go do a co-write and then drive back home and go to work or go to the studio or whatever, and then come back and do it again the next day. So it was just
Yeah.
hustle, hustle. I just had to do it. I believed in it and I had to do it. There was no other option and choice for me. It was just
That kind of answers my next question for you, actually, which is like, what is your why? Like, when you were real little and you first picked up the guitar, what age did you start guitar, by the way?
I was like 11 or 12.
Yeah. So was that kind of, did you realize you finally had this like vessel or this, funnel for your creativity or?
Yeah, I've been a creative kid my whole life. I
Yeah.
started playing piano when I was 6. I had some learning disabilities when I was a kid, and back in those days, like they didn't know what to do with
Right.
me.
Yeah.
They're like, he's just a weird kid.
Yeah.
Uh, um, so I was always real into art, and my parents recognized that if they involved me in things like art classes and music classes, um, that it gave me an outlet and it helped a lot. And so I started playing piano when I was 6, and then
Wow.
I went to school one day, and I was a huge nerd, just a super nerd. Um, and one of my friends, he was a super nerd too, and he brought his guitar to school, and all of a sudden, all the cute girls were noticing him. I was like, "Hey, wait a minute, there's, there's something to this guitar thing. No one likes the
I've
piano
heard
player
this story
thing."
before.
And I started playing guitar, and then my buddy Jody, we went on a field trip one day, and he showed me how to read tablature, and
Nice.
it was done. I was just buying guitar magazines every time we go to the grocery store, and
Yeah. Yeah.
just butchering it, but having a blast.
Totally.
And I totally fell in love with it. Like I knew this is what I wanted to do, and
It sounds like music was, I mean, at least for me, I was a loner, kind of teased as a kid. So music was my way of trying to feel like I fit into some place in the world in some way, like I had some place to belong. And being a musician and just being a creative kid, I feel like I found myself in a way. Does that resonate with you?
yeah, absolutely. Because I don't know about you, but like I always tried to put myself mentally into other things, and they just never really fit.
Yep.
And it's just something about it's like I just always knew this. I have to do this, and this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. I love that. I would love to
Yeah.
hear about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, good. No, yeah. Even if I'm broke,
I
it's
know
like
it's like
I've,
it's just
I've
the
got to
we
do
want
it.
to suffer for it, right?
Yeah.
Anything. I would love to hear about how you met Kip Moore, and I love you made some long posts on Instagram about your 13 years touring with him and how much
Yeah.
you loved that whole experience. But like, how did you meet him in the first place? How did that start?
So after the Shoals thing, after we'd been through like 2 publishing deals and a bunch of record deals, just nothing was working.
Yeah,
So the band broke up, and I lost my pub deal, so I lost my income. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like, what crap am I gonna do now? And I never really set out to be a side guy, like a
really,
touring player. It never was my goal and my mission. I was always more of a creative guy and just
gotcha.
who played guitar. Um,
Yeah,
and so I started just picking up side work, like people would ask me to oh sorry,
turn my watch
people
off.
people would ask coming in town, they want to go play for a record producer or a record label.
Right.
And so they had 3 songs and they'd send them to me and I'd learn the 3 songs and we go do it. And it was like making $150 a meeting. So it's pretty good money.
Not bad.
And I was like, that's, and then I started doing more side work with a group called Tabor Dame, not Taylor Dame, but Tabor Dame
Okay.
is a male country duo. And then I met Kelly Bannon and started working with her.
Okay.
And she was awesome to work with. She was great because her songs were amazing and killer and just really creative.
Is she solely a songwriter, or what is
Her
her
songwriter artist, and now she has
artist?
that huge show on Apple Music.
Okay, sorry, I need to
Yeah.
do my research on
And
that, but okay, cool.
and and I met Kip while I was working with her as well, and he had just signed a developmental deal with Universal. Didn't have any money.
Yeah.
Didn't really pay anything, but I listened to his MySpace one day. And because a publisher friend of mine, she sent it to me and she's like, hey, you need to go check this guy out. He's looking for a guitar player singer. I was like, okay. So I went to his MySpace and
I love
listened
it.
listened to some of the tunes, and I was just like, man, this is cool and different. It's got like this Bruce
That's
Springsteen,
exactly where my mind went when I listened to him.
yeah, kind of I don't know, blue collar rock and roll,
Yeah.
and like there's elements of Jackson Brown and Bob Seger and all that stuff in there. And so we met for a beer one night. And then the next day I came over to his office. He's at Brett James Publishing at the time. And just kind of played for him. I was like, here's what I do. I play weird shit in DADGAD.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I
Perfect.
play all these weird guitar tunings and he liked it. And so I never had like a formal audition kind of thing. There never was that.
Yeah.
Uh, and his developmental deal went well. The showcases went well. He got a full-blown deal. And then we started working like crazy. Started promoting the first single, which was actually Mary Was the Marrying Kind, not something about a truck. It's
Gotcha.
actually Mary Was the Marrying Kind, and kind of flopped. But it was a really cool tune and it was a cool experience. And then we started working truck,
Mm.
and something about a truck just it changed our lives, changed everything. I mean, Kip and I were gone 270 days that year on the road, just promoting it with radio. So we were doing like 3 radio stations a day, flying in 2 different cities a day.
Unreal. I would love.
Hey, I hope y'all are enjoying the episode so far. Really quick before we continue, I see these episodes as a form of priceless mentorship, and that's something I always wished I had in my own journey. If you also feel you are getting something of value from these conversations from veteran working artists, there is a way to support the show and keep it going. For just $3 a month, you can become a personal patron to the podcast by joining over at patreon.com/graceaskew. Or if you'd like to be a one-time supporter, you can name your price and throw in what you'd like to the virtual tip jar at paypal.me/graceaskew. Either way, your listenership means so much to me. All right, let's get back to the show.
Unreal. I would love to hear about how fast that level of a turnover happens. From what I've heard from my manager, it's like 3 months. It can be that fast. Like,
It's totally that fast.
yeah.
Because once that thing gets on the chart and it gets ads, and if it's going to be a good hit,
Yeah.
it's a rocket ship, and you just better hold
Wow.
on.
Yeah. I would love to hear more about your experience on that level of a tour, like how, life on the tour bus, just for our listeners who are just like budding artists. They want to get in, they want to get to that level. Like, what can you give them a glimpse of, like a day in the life with Kip Moore?
Yeah, I mean, well, the early days is like anybody else, van in a trailer,
Right. Yeah.
everybody's driving, it's once you go to your first bus, life gets better.
Sure. Yeah.
At least you're comfier. You never really sleep. Like that's the thing. For 13 years, I never really didn't sleep a full night because even you're on a bus and you're in a bed, you're in a moving thing going 70 miles an hour down the highway.
Yeah.
So it's not really good sleep. It's just rest.
It's not the glamour that people think it is.
No, and after a few days, like it just basically becomes a fraternity house on wheels. It's disgusting.
Wow. Wow.
because you're dealing with other people's messes, other people's habits, other people's weird quirks,
Yes.
other people's filth. And yeah, so but it's an adjustment, and it becomes a big moving family. And
Yeah.
it's awesome. It really is. There's so many challenges that go with it too, because you have to deal with personality aspects too. Life changes, all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and there's things like, addiction and stuff like that you have to deal with too. And
Yes.
there's there's so much to it, but it's at the end of the day, it's a family.
Yeah.
And at least you want it to be. You hope it is.
Right. You can only hope. And I know it's going to be, it's got to be just the grueling aspect of it that people don't understand. Like you will play a show, like what time would the show wrap when you would be in the bus, like on the road?
I mean, uh, usually the show would be done by 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Right. And then
If
you,
it's a normal time. Sometimes it's late shows. You don't get off stage till 12:30 or 1.
yeah. And
Mhm.
then obviously the bus driver takes y'all to the next town.
Yeah, but then there's load out, so you got to wait on the crew to load out. And
Right.
so we were always running two buses, a crew bus and a band bus, and we'd always run together. So we had to
Yeah.
wait for the crew bus to get done unloading at the semi, which take them, a while. It's a lot of work. And yeah. So I mean, by the time you're rolling, it's like maybe 3, 4 in the morning to the next town.
Damn. That's, yeah. It's just fascinating to me to, and then, you know, Joe Leathers, are now our mutual friend. He goes on tour with Lee Brice, and you know, just as his writer, which is like so mind blowing to me. His Lee's bus has a recording studio in it. Which, did Kip's bus have that?
No, because we just had the band bus with Kip. So Kip
Yeah.
had like a little back lounge that had like a little full-size bed in the back. And
Okay.
we had the bunks. So there
Gotcha.
really wasn't room for anything like that. But we always carry, I always carry my stuff, my laptop, and
Your recording gear. Yeah.
yeah, recording gear. But um,
Yeah.
that'd be cool to have the studio.
I know, right? I just, that's so mind blowing to me that some of these artists have like in-house songwriters that tour with them, so they can keep the material going. They can always have fresh material while they're doing these grueling tours. So it's just interesting to me. But I would love to hear your story about John Paul White and how like that whole relationship blossomed. And you known him for
Man,
a really
yeah.
long time, obviously. But how did
Yeah.
it kind of change as the years went by?
Well, the relationship was I mean, purely through like the Tuesday Music Club, like I mentioned, and school. He was also a student at University of North Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he was in the program there as well, and so we just knew each other through that.
Yeah.
Um, and he had just signed a deal with Capitol Records, and was making a record, and we had been writing some together, and we had written this tune called "Losing Me," and it's just this super haunting, beautifully dark, sad song. And
Awesome. I
yeah,
love
make
those.
make music sad again.
Yeah. Right.
And so he called me one day and he said, "Hey man, I want to let you know I'm gonna put this song on the record." And I was like, "What?" It was my first cut too. My first
Amazing.
non-sync, not TV film stuff, but my first actual cut was
Like
that.
co-write. Yeah.
And I was just so happy. And
Amazing.
and it was the first song on the CD as well, and I was just so thrilled. And so he needed another guitar player, and I was already familiar with his style and the way of playing,
Yeah.
and I play a similar style as well. And so it worked. And honestly, I look back in my career and like that's one of those things I'd wish I'd done longer.
What? Which one?
Play with John
Play with
more.
John? Just, oh, really?
Because I did that right before the Shoals thing, and then the
Oh,
Shoals thing
okay, gotcha.
happened, and I kind of had to choose. I was like, I only have time for one of these.
I see.
So I wish I had ridden out the John thing a little bit longer, even though he was going to end up doing the Civil Wars anyways. But
Yeah.
it was so much fun to play with him because he's so musical and so melodic, and he's willing to take chances on like doing super moody, sad, dark stuff.
Yeah.
Love. I mean, he's a huge fan of like Radiohead and Tom Waits and all that stuff, and
Love it.
I am too, and
Yeah.
I love Radiohead. I'm just moodier the better.
What does your personal songwriting process look like typically, or do you have I mean, it seems like you're such an incredible instrumentalist, so it's heavily involved with the instrument most times, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I'm writing by myself, it's like I'm always starting with a guitar groove.
Okay.
It's always something. I think I'm always inspired by music first and foremost.
That's what I loved about writing with you. It was really refreshing. I feel like it got me out of my normal way of thinking and
Yeah,
it just made me more creative.
like sometimes I'll the normal thing, like I'll have a hook idea pop in my head, so I'll write it on my phone, or I'll
Yeah,
have a melody pop in my head, so I'll sing it on my phone, and then forget about it six
right.
months later, and then look at it like, oh yeah, maybe I should do this.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
normally it's like I sit down. I got a guitar right here. You want me to do it?
Yeah, do it.
It's I can be like a.
Live songwriting.
Here we go. You hear that all right?
A little bit.
Yeah, maybe I'll bring that up a little bit.
Yeah, bring it up a little bit.
There you go. So I'll kind of start with like I don't know. This is just ripping this right now. Let's see.
Yeah.
So start with something like that, and
You
then
already hear a melody going, you know?
and I start laying in a melody like. You know.
Yes.
Then I'll start putting like weird delays and stuff on it just to fill it out. Like,
I've loved that. I mean, that's what I like I said, I think that's what
yeah,
listeners like your ears want that. It's like the catchy, just like ear candy. And I've noticed I've been listening to a lot of Morgan Wallen and I know people hate him, but I think it's just the most catchy, unbelievably catchy music. You know, you cannot get it out of your head once you
yeah,
hear it. And it's so driven by those guitar hooks that I've noticed. And I know it's been like that for many years, but like I'm just now kind of realizing like the kind of thing you do is so powerful. If you're wanting to go down that like straight down the road country direction, especially, I think it's really important to have a great guitarist on board who can like give that really rhythmic, unforgettable hook to make the song shine.
yeah. And it's good if you sit in a room with people like to have all the elements there of all the writers.
Yeah,
Have a great lyricist there, have a great melody person or a
yeah,
track person, and then have a great instrumentalist, you know, because
definitely.
um, I don't know, you can feed off each other, use each other's strengths and play off weaknesses and stuff like that. And I
Oh
don't know.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I was just writing with a guy yesterday, and he's got that producer kind of ear, you know, so it helped to have he could hear the instrumentation that was going around the lyrics that you're writing. I feel like I don't have that ear, but you definitely do. So it's been a joy, but I would love to know your take on and how long have you been doing this now? Like 30?
Gosh, yeah. Oh God, about 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen the rise and, you know, the mountains and the valleys of a lot of different artists around you. And what kind of is your personal takeaway lesson of the people who survived through all of those elements of being an artist? It's really freaking tough. Like you have to have thick skin. And what's kind of a lesson
Yeah.
that you take away from like how to get through it?
Um, Gosh, I think I'm going through that right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's what
Yeah.
anything you want to
I
impart,
think
you know?
not being on tour with Kip and the band anymore, it's been a struggle and a transition. And just personally, I had other things going on in my life this last year that were huge struggles with a lot of surgeries and just other
Mm,
stuff going on.
yeah,
And so definitely been an adjustment. And like I find myself for a while there, I was just ready to give up on everything. And at the end of the day, so I started writing by myself a lot and just going just to try to get stuff out, kind of like I'd be journaling or something.
right.
And I found the songs, I mean, I never play them for anyone, but they were very therapeutic and taught me a lot. And they kind of relit the fire in me again. And that's when I just started just writing a ton.
Amazing.
I've never written by myself that much before in my entire life. And I think a lot of times when you go through trials and tribulations and struggles, it's
Mm.
usually when you write the better stuff anyways.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
then I started reaching out to people because I wanted to start co-writing again. And because that's the thing, being on the road, when you're on the road, you don't have time for people because people stop calling you because you're always gone. So, I
Wow.
went from co-writing all the time back in 2005 to not co-writing all the time because I was never gone, never home, never around. So it's
Yeah.
all just writing with the guys and that's it.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to get back in, and I still had a lot of good connections in Nashville. And so I started reaching out to friends like Tiffany Goss and
Yes. I'm gonna have her on this season for sure later on.
I had talked to her in, over 10 years. And I was like, hey, would you like to get together and write one day? Like, I'm just, wanting to get back in the room with some people again. And it's been awesome. She's been one of my favorite co-writers to work with here lately. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just good to have. I'm finding a new foundation, a new crew. So my advice is, yeah, don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up, even at your worst time. Keep writing,
Right.
because you're gonna find some good stuff in there. You have to really dare to suck
Fair to suck.
find find the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess you kind of skirted on, around my next question is like the whole theme of this obviously is daring to suck. No matter what level you're at in your career, you will always have this kind of imposter syndrome or, nagging kind of self-doubt that's always going to have like the passenger seat, so to speak. And like what area of your life do you find that you've consistently had to deal with that? Is it just being an artist in general or
I think it's all of it. I think it's
all of it?
artist, writer, everything. um, I doubt myself all the time. And I think that's something I've been working on with my therapist a lot is
Yeah.
we've been talking about, self-love and
Yeah.
self-compassion. And so I've been trying to be more compassionate to myself and not put all these pressures and
Yeah.
reasons. I mean, all these bars to set, like I'm just right, just right. I don't, if I'm at that point now, if it makes me any money at all, I don't know, but
Right.
I have to do it. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's in me, it's in my blood, and I have to do it.
I know that's so true. I think, I mean, I've been have many valleys in my career too, and it's just like that's the only thing that brings you back home to like the whole point of this whole journey, right? Is like just to write, like to express yourself, like that is the
Mhm.
greatest gift. And I think social media can be really damaging in the fact that you just can scroll too much too often, and you can compare yourself, and that's been something that I've struggled with, and I think a lot of artists struggle with. I mean, it's not normal for us to see the journey of so many other people at once. Like
No,
be in
it's
check
yeah.
with it.
And I think maybe people of my age have a hard time adjusting to that too,
Yeah,
because because I learned music from a different way.
yeah,
And where I would have to go to the record store to buy the CD, and
yeah,
then would wait endlessly for the new guitar magazine to come out with a tab in it so I could learn how to play it.
yeah,
Now, now it's like it's immediately available. There's 50,000 YouTube videos on how to play the song online.
yeah,
It's just it's different now, and
yeah,
it's easy to beat yourself up. But
yeah.
I find I get my most creativity by, I hate to say this, but by not listening to radio.
Really,
Not I don't have a clue, honestly, what's going on in the country music industry in Nashville right now. I'm
yeah,
so clueless. I find it better to walk into a co-write completely fresh, just doing what I do.
yeah.
I think it's
Totally,
more
I love
honest.
that. A lot of the greats, like I know Prince has been interviewed about that, and he's like, I don't listen to other artists. Like I don't listen to music, and I get burnt out for sure. Like I'll listen to classical only or something.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff I listen to it's all over the spectrum, but I definitely always listen to the stuff that inspires me, and
Hmm.
it's usually has nothing to do with this town or this genre. Um,
Right.
and I think that's good because that brings something different into the writing room when you sit down with someone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, and I'm sure you can relate to this for sure. Is like I'm coming from the Americana world, and I'm trying to make this next record is like more straight down the road kind of country, and it's an experiment for me. Like to write that kind of music is not my forte, but I think
Yeah,
I think it's part of the artist's job almost to take that route, to like take it there, and to experiment with writing within the box, because like you gotta learn the rules first to break them, right? So
it's true. Yeah,
I think it's an interesting kind of journey to take.
yeah, it definitely is a journey.
It's a journey, man.
Yeah, I bet you got to constantly try to reinvent yourself too,
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah.
or it gets stale. And
What to you, no matter what genre it is, like what constitutes an amazing song to you? Like what moves you the most?
uh, do I does it make me feel something? And I think that's more for me musically than it is anything about a lyric. And that's the musician side of me too. But like, I'll give you some examples. Like, okay, classical, Edward Elgar, the Enigma Variations.
Okay.
Um, Probably one of the most beautiful pieces of music. Like, I cry when I hear it,
Yeah.
and
Like,
it's an emotion. Like, if you like this band or not, I know they're really controversial, but like Coldplay. Um,
love.
I don't even care what the lyrics are, but you're gonna listen to a Coldplay song, you're gonna feel something. You're
You
gonna feel
are.
pumped anthem, or you're gonna feel something. And then I listened to like Gregory Alan Isakov,
Hmm.
um, and his music is a little bit sad, it's beautiful, it's poetic and delicate, and but for me, it's all the vibe. Like I don't, even, he could just mumble lyrics, and I would have no idea, but I'd
Yes.
still feel the song.
That's how I
So
feel about like Delta blues music, because they're not really about the lyrics, right? Delta blues is it's about the
no,
vibe. It's
yeah,
monotonous even,
yeah, it's very monotonous,
but
but
it
it's
gets you
about the
entranced.
vibe. Yeah.
And yeah, that's a good point. I would love to hear more about your studio setup that you've got here.
Oh man, it's not huge, and I finally updated it after all these years. Like I've been using the same 10-year-old Mac that's limping, and I finally updated and got all new stuff. But I'll try to pan around and show you. But
Okay, cool. Yeah, we also have this interview up on YouTube for our listeners, so you can check out the video of this. Wow, how many guitars do you have?
so yeah, this is my old touring vault here.
How cool is
My
that?
amps in the bottom. I got more guitars over there. I got a wall full over there.
Holy crap.
And I got closets full of guitars. I think I got like 32 guitars, something like that.
Wow, I love it.
Just one more, please. Just one
That's
more.
one more. There's never enough. I'm not there yet. I haven't become a gearhead necessarily,
Oh,
but
here's all my fun little space.
wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. I would love to hear about what's kind of like on the horizon for you as an artist, as a songwriter. Like, what are your goals?
Oh, my goals right now is I I actually want to release like just a little 5-song EP.
Cool.
That's just me. Just doing my kind of singer-songwriter stuff.
Yes.
I've always wanted to do it, and been debating on whether releasing it under my own name or another name. So I'm still trying to figure all that stuff out. But I've been writing for it, and I've been slowly recording it. And now that I got all the new gear, I'm kind of ready to start diving into that. And hopefully by next year I'll have something,
Building it. Yeah.
Yeah. Learning too, because like it's just all the new tech and all the new gear and like new software and not being on the road now. I have time to focus and learn, and it's just it's a new thing to learn. So
Are you Ableton or what do you use?
I'm using Logic.
Logic. That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Very cool. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a big learning curve for me.
I was on Pro Tools for years back in the day, and then I just kind of eventually got away from it. And Logic is for me was very intuitive, especially
Really?
being an Apple person. It was just yeah, super simple and intuitive. But like my drummer Eric from the band, he uses Ableton and
Oh,
loves it.
does he?
Yeah.
Did Kip use like stems from Ableton on the? I mean, I'm sure he used some kind of electronic kind of.
His show is pretty crazy because like there'd be half the show would have no tracks whatsoever, not even a click, just us playing together.
Oh, wow.
And some of it would be like you'd have, a stack of like extra background vocals, or maybe
Interesting.
an extra keyboard part, but there was never much.
Huh.
It was just little elements like that maybe we couldn't pull off with just us
Gotcha. Okay.
instrumentally, but every now and then, yeah.
Yeah, that stuff's fun. I watched his recent Good Morning America performance, I think it was, for his new single or something, and
Mhm.
it sounded like he had some kind of stem kind of support, some kind of tracks or something, but maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, there's always a couple little things here and there, but yeah.
Yeah, I need to dive back into that. That's so much fun. So where can we find you besides Instagram? Do you have a website for like your personal stuff?
I need to update all of them.
Okay.
But yeah, my name adambrowder.com, and then my other little company, woodworking and art company that I have, is 1008woodco.com.
Okay, I saw that. That's linked in on your Instagram. Okay, I'll link Adam's Instagram in this whole caption for the podcast, and definitely keep us posted with your solo project. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited to work on it. It's going to be fun.
Hell yeah! And hopefully it'll be on Spotify for everybody to.
Yeah, and I also need to finish recording our other tune.
Oh, love that song, y'all. We wrote the saddest love song. I'm
God,
definitely a
so
fan of
sad.
that one. Oh, it's
great.
so good. And you kind of already accidentally answered this question, but I always like to end every interview with this question because I just always find it inspiring to hear people's answers. But have you ever almost quit, and what kept you going? And you can just kind of touch more on this a little bit.
I've almost quit every single day.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Yeah. And what keeps me going is that I have zero job experience for anything else, so I have no choice but to do this.
Oh no, it's the same.
I've been doing it so long. It's like applying for a job. So, what are your previous job experiences? Well, I lived on a tour bus, drinking whiskey.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So true. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people appreciate that answer.
Yeah. But yeah, I almost quit every single day. I just don't give up.
I'm going to quote you on that. That's a really good one. Well, I really, really appreciate your time. I know you're busy, and I know our listeners are going to get a lot of inspiration out of your story and just your journey to being to where you are now, and going forward as a solo artist for the time being, and just experimenting with this new side of yourself is really, really cool to see. So I'm excited you're doing that.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for having me, and looking forward to getting in the room again with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll holler at you.
All right.
All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.